since we're on Ingress, let's unpack that.
Ooh.
I'm excited. I've watched it 3 times.
Oh my
I
gosh.
just
Thank
like
you so much.
so in love with it.
What about it? I mean, I'm obviously happy to answer any and all questions
Yeah.
you have, but I'm so
Yeah.
curious, like for you both, like what was it about the film that you particularly resonated with?
There's so much to absorb in there, but in a good way. It explores the metaphysical in a way I've never seen before in a film, but I have experienced in my personal life. The time jumping, the channeling, and how we'll go back to how the universe conspires with you to bring you back to a place of truth. I just curious, were you personally inspired to write this?
I yes. So this story for me, it kind of came from a handful of different places. Some very personal. So growing up in Santa Fe, where I grew up, Santa Fe is a very spiritual town filled with a lot of metaphysical of all varietals, energy healers, tarot, astrology, like throw a walk and you'll hit a massage therapist kind of vibe. So it was a great place to grow up. And I had a lot of access to kind of that fringier stuff. And so a good friend of my parents, when I was growing up, was a spiritual channel. And so as I got older, I got the chance to speak with her one on one on a number of occasions. And so a lot of the content that I wrote as Lucas and that interaction, Daniel and Lucas, was pulled directly from those conversations. And as I was having them, even back when I was like 18, 19, I was just thinking, my
Wow.
gosh, someday, somehow, this has to be a story or a movie. Because one thing I thought was so fascinating was like, for people who have that gift,
Hmm.
what it must feel like in a world that doesn't really normalize things like that. So like this notion of like
Hmm.
something that feels very true to you, but other people are saying you're crazy or it's schizophrenia or
Right.
diagnosing people with these very rigid boxes. And so for me, with both characters, Riley's journey of moving between parallel realities. So some of the content in these channeled conversations was specifically around how we are all moving between parallel realities all the time and we just miss it. It's like that reality is essentially more like a strobe light than a spotlight. So it's a series of
Yes.
independent moments that our brain stitches together with memories. And that just felt so
Yeah.
true to me. And so I started thinking about things in my life that happen that I can't explain. So, and then I started piecing them together into this
Hmm.
character. So like one of them is like occasionally like my ears will start to ring for no reason, or just one of them will. So I was like, well, what's that about? Or like sometimes you'll get those little floaty things, like that feeling
Yeah.
when you're or like I'll walk down a street I've been down 100 times and like there's a house I've never seen before. And of course your brain immediately is like, well, you probably just didn't notice it. Maybe. But like
No.
so things like that where I was like, okay, because
Yeah.
I wanted this story to feel very grounded and not like a big like in another galaxy, but kind of more like people could watch this and be like, has that happened to me? I think
Yeah.
that has happened to me. And it turns out like way more than I ever expected. People
Yeah.
coming forward and not even just in like a theoretical sense, but people literally saying this is
Hmm.
happening to me all
Yeah.
the time. And so that has been really special. But I think to answer your question directly, I do personally feel that every time I or anyone is writing, it's a form of channeling. And I think with
Hmm.
Ingress, it was partially my own experiences and relational things, but then there was definitely an aspect of it that I felt like I was just opening up to something else because there were
Right.
even now, like sometimes I'll watch that movie again or look at the script again and I'm like, where did that come from? Like that's I think when you're really like connected with the
Yeah.
muse or whatever you call it, things really do flow in a very interesting
Hmm.
way and it feels like you're kind of in communion with something other
Yeah.
than
And
just your own.
yeah.